In this presentation, I will be giving a fictional account of a pilgrim visiting Delphi, touching on the cultural and historical significance of the city and linking it to how we can understand the New Testament better. It is the 2nd century AD. You are on a pilgrimage to Delphi from Athens to ask the oracle of Delphi, who is also known as the Pythia, for an oracle regarding your future, as many kings and leaders from all over the known world have done for centuries. Of course you're an aristocrat, as only people with means could travel in your time. You're not a slave or a day laborer who needed to provide for survival. The legends say that Delphi was the place where Zeus sent out 2 eagles to locate the center of the world, and both eagles landed in Delphi. The legends also said that Apollo, god of prophecy and music, defeated the Python of Mother Earth in Delphi and now resides there, providing prophecies speaking on behalf of the gods for the last 900 years or so. Apollo, however, only resided in Delphi during the non-winter months, where during the winter he would leave, and Dionysus, god of wine and festivals, would come to Delphi. After arriving in Delphi, you've had time to bathe in the Castilian spring to cleanse yourself before approaching the Pythia. Your journey up the mountain begins in the Roman Agora, where traders and marketers would sell their goods. Fortunately, you've already prepared your offerings to Delphi and have no need to buy any trinkets sold here that other pilgrims are purchasing. You walk up the sacred way, being flanked by the statues and monuments of various military leaders, heroes and emperors. All of those would have been offerings from various kings and emperors as presents to show off and claim honor. The showing off for honor continues as you make your way to the treasuries, where you stop at where your fellow Athenians had constructed a treasury and a stoa around 600 years ago, commemorating the victory over the Persians in the Battle of Marathon. Hence the statues and shields of the Persians were hung up as trophies. As you hand over your offering to the treasury, you sneer at the other treasuries belonging to the other city-states, as clearly the Athenian one is best. It even contained carvings of Theseus, your city's hero, according to the legends. The smell of burnt meat fills your nose as you approach the temple. The massive altar before you was gifted by the people of the island of Chios to Delphi, and so they had priority access to the Pythia for oracles. Regardless, it is your turn now to see the Pythia, and the process hasn't been easy. The Pythia only provides prophecies 9 times a year. You had to make the journey here, you were vetted by the priests of Apollo to ensure your question could be answered by the Pythia, you had to purchase a gift as an offering to Delphi, and you've had to practice how to ask the question. As you enter the temple, you don't actually get to see the Pythia, as she sits in a room at the back. However, you hear her screaming incoherently. You know that she was just a local village virgin girl who the priests of Apollo had chosen. Unsurprisingly, you receive a cryptic oracle which the priests of Apollo had interpreted from the Pythia, and you leave rather dissatisfied as you know that if you interpret the oracle incorrectly, the fault would lie with you and not with Apollo. You decide to stay for a couple of weeks more as the Pan-Hellenic Pythian Games, which was held every 4 years, was occurring in Delphi. The Games, only second to the Olympic Games, was a religious festival that included both musical and athletic competitions. You watch a competition of flautists in the theatre and quite enjoy it. You make your way up to the stadium, and watch a chariot race where some of the competitors had an unfortunate accident, and a chariot rider had died. This doesn't bother you, as this was common. Life was cheap. They were just slaves. If they had won the race, the slave owner would be the one who got the honor. As you pause to reflect, making your way down and out of the city, you recall the rumors and preaching of a strange Jewish cult, a group of people who claim to follow a resurrected, crucified Jewish carpenter. The thought itself initially came off as foolishness, as only robbers and revolutionaries were crucified in the Roman emperor, and people don't resurrect from the dead. However, you think about the certainty that this group offered. Instead of having to deal with cryptic, capricious, and arbitrary gods, they offered scripture, rules and principles that don't change. As you pass the temple, you think of the Pythia and how only a certain few have access to the gods' spirits, which are heavily controlled by the priests. But this group claims that anyone who believes in the resurrected, crucified Jewish carpenter has access to the spirit. As you pass by the polygonal wall next to the stoa, where the inscriptions of many slaves have been made giving thanks to Apollo for their liberation, you consider the strongest attraction of this group: a relational, personal, loving, and one God over and against the countless capricious, selfish, and arbitrary gods who really just looked like and acted like humans, and certainly did not love humans. You've heard this group actually value the lives of slaves, women, and non-citizens, because the God of this group is a loving God who values the lives of slaves, women, and non-citizens. As you leave Delphi, you wonder what will happen to Delphi in 200 years' time if such a group's ideas were true and took hold of the empire.